Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We now go to the final audio session, the unity of divine revelation. In the previous sessions, we have explored the core themes that appear across the history of divine revelation. We have moved step by step from the nature of God to the purpose of creation to the reality of the unseen, from the human soul to freedom to transformation, from revelation itself to knowledge to justice, from society and its structure to life's final reality and the outcomes beyond it. Each theme was examined across different stages of revelation, from early traditions to the messages of Abraham and Moses, to the teachings of Jesus, and finally to the Quran. At first, these stages may appear separate. Different texts, different expressions, different historical contexts. But when viewed together, a deeper pattern begins to emerge. A pattern of continuity, a pattern of development, and ultimately a pattern of unity. Across all themes, one observation becomes clear. The core message does not change. It is expressed, clarified, then completed. The nature of God remains one, but its understanding becomes more precise. Creation is always purposeful, but its meaning becomes clearer. The unseen is always real, but its role becomes more defined. The human being is always responsible, but the understanding of the self becomes deeper. Freedom is always present, but its balance with guidance becomes clearer from stage to stage. Transformation is always possible, but its path becomes more complete. Revelation always guides, but its scope expands. Knowledge is always accessible, but its integration becomes stronger. Justice is always required, but its application becomes more balanced. Wealth is always a test, but its use becomes more disciplined. Responsibility is always expected, but its structure becomes more defined from stage to stage. Family is always essential, but its balance becomes clearer. Conflict is always present, but its resolution becomes more defined and more refined. Trust is always fundamental, but its application becomes broader. Leadership is always necessary, but its responsibility becomes clearer. Death is always certain, but its meaning becomes more explicit. Judgment is always real, but its detail becomes more complete. Destiny is always affirmed, but its path becomes more transparent. The relationship with God is always central, but its depth becomes more accessible. Trials are always part of life, but their purpose becomes clearer. Mercy is always present, but its scope becomes more expansive. When all of these themes are viewed together, they do not form a set of disconnected ideas. They form a system, a coherent, integrated, and purposeful system. This leads to an important conclusion. What may appear on the surface as difference is often a reflection of one stage, not the final stage. Early expressions introduce truth. Later stages clarify it, and the final stage integrates it all together. This does not mean that earlier revelations were incomplete in purpose, but that they were aligned with the capacity of their time. Each stage speaks to its audience while contributing to a larger process. Seen in this way, revelation is not static, it is dynamic, not fragmented, but continuous. This perspective also helps explain historical misunderstandings. When individual stages are isolated, or when later interpretations are treated as original foundations, the sense of unity can be lost. When that happens, differences are emphasized, connections are overlooked, and what was meant to guide becomes a source of division. But when revelation is viewed as a continuous, as a whole, across time, across context, and across its core themes, its unity becomes visible. This unity does not erase diversity, it gives it meaning. Different expressions, different communities, different historical moments all become part of a single unfolding message. A message that begins with fundamental truth and moves toward integration and completion. At its core, this message calls human beings to recognize the one source of existence, to understand their purpose, and to act with responsibility, live with justice, and prepare for what lies beyond this life. It calls for awareness, for reflection, and for balance. It does not seek to divide humanity, but to guide it. In this light, the diversity of revelation is not a contradiction, it is a process that leads to unity and completion. A unity not imposed from outside, but discovered through understanding. As this journey comes to a close, we return to the question with which we began. Why has revelation at times been a source of division? And the answer becomes clearer. Not because the message itself is divided, but because it has often been read in parts instead of a whole. The purpose of this work has been to bring these parts together, to reveal the pattern that connects them, and to present Revelation as unified system of guidance. A system that speaks to the human being across time, across place, and across experiences. The journey, however, does not end here. Understanding leads to reflection, and reflection leads to responsibility. Each listener is invited to consider not only the structure of revelation, but their place within that revelation. To consider how these themes appear in their own life, in their choices, their relationships, and their direction. Because the unity of revelation is not only something to be studied, it is something to be lived. A guidance that brings coherence, balance, and meaning to human existence. A message not meant to divide humanity, but to guide it towards unity. Thank you for listening. I hope you get some benefit of this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.